Reserve. The root of all our evil, it begins with the Federal Reserve. Hey, yeah, well, let's go back in time when everybody was so proud of a man.
I'm Tom Salmons. This is year 0. Today, Josh Smith of Break the Cycle. Josh joined me to discuss Libertarian Party politics to an extent, his journey through the Libertarian Party, and just have an all-around conversation about what we see happening in the liberty movement and the arguments taking place. And we had a good time. I enjoyed talking to Josh. He seems like he's a really good dude, and I can't wait to have him on again so we can get more into detail on some of these subjects that are happening in the world around us. And it was a lot of fun having him on, man. We've been trying to do this for a while, and our schedules hadn't lined up, so we got it nailed down, and stayed up late and chatted for a bit. So I'm sure you'll enjoy this conversation with Josh Smith of Break the Cycle. RyanBunting.com for all of your graphic design needs. Go to RyanBunting.com. Ryan Bunting is a great libertarian and a great anarcho-capitalist. He's also a great graphic designer. He designed my podcast logo and Pete Quinones' podcast logo for Free Man Beyond the Wall. So go to RyanBunting.com for all of your graphic design needs. And check out his book, Project Manicore. Thank you, Tom Burton, for the music. Enjoy the show. All right. I am here with Josh Smith. Finally, it's happening. Cue the fucking Ron Paul meme. What's up, dude?
What's going on, brother? Yeah, no shit. Hey, man, anything that happened to do with Ron Paul, I'm good with it, man. he's with me always in the back.
Yes, yeah.
He also endorsed me last year for chairman.
That was fucking remarkable. Yeah, that was so cool when I saw that. I was like, whoa, this is fucking cool. He didn't even endorse his own son for president.
Yeah, no. I feel like I'm closer to Ron Paul than Rand Paul is. It was nice, dude. It was, for me, it was like this, I came full circle because, I started in this shit working on his campaign in 2008. I was a big Ron Paul guy. Yeah, I'm the reason I'm a libertarian, the reason I'm an anarcho-capitalist, really the reason why I got involved with the Mises side of all this shit was because of Ron Paul. I mean, he really, if it wasn't for him, there would have been no Rothbard for me. There would have been no F.A. Hayek. There would have been no Mises. There would have been no Tom Woods. It was all because of Ron Paul. So,
oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like, it's very rare that like people in our positions, the type of the blue collar types like you and I are, go through life. It's very rare that we meet those people, let alone are endorsed by those people that have influenced our lives so hard. Like if I mean, honestly, if man, I'm just trying to think, like, if I got a tap on the shoulder from Edgar Allan Poe,
oh yeah, no shit, dude.
It's one of those things that you're like, wow, man, that's pretty cool.
So I thought the pinnacle for me was in 2018. There was this big event in Omaha, Nebraska called the Omaha Roads to Freedom Unconvention. And I was asked to come and be the keynote speaker there. And there was, Austin Peterson, Mary Ruar, like all these big libertarian names. And, there was a bunch of breakout rooms, smaller breakout rooms and stuff. And I was like, oh, they'll probably put me in a breakout room. I was running for chair of the national committee at the time, but I had helped found a think tank and publication called Think Liberty that was doing pretty well. So I had a little bit of name exposure, but they asked me to come and be the keynote speaker. And I was like, I realized that everybody that was speaking was called keynote speaker. So I just thought I was going to be like in a breakout room or something. They had me fucking keynote the grand ballroom for 45 minutes. I had never given a speech. I'd never given a speech that was like more than 20 minutes. Right. And so they gave me this 45-minute time slot to close out the ballroom for the weekend right before Ron Paul's dinner. Oh, right. Shit. So like closed down the convention for Ron Paul. I was like the opener for Ron Paul. And you know, that to me, I was like, holy shit, this is full circle, dude. Like Ron Paul brought me here. Now I'm closing down the convention right behind my, you know, my idol, the man that made me who I am today. So I thought that was it. And then last year when I'm running for chairman of the national committee, I reached out to Daniel, the guy who works with them for the Ron Paul report. And I was like, hey,
McAdams.
Yeah, Daniel McAdams. And
Okay.
I was like, you know, this is probably a long shot, but I'm running for national chairman against Nicholas Sarwark and the Beltway, you know, Cato libertarians, basically. It would mean a ton to me if I could have Ron Paul's support, you know, and I laid it out. I said, I'm an anti-war guy. I came through here because I served in Iraq and decided that war was bad for the country. And, you know, I'm anti-Federal Reserve, and I worked on Ron Paul's campaign in 2008 and all this shit. I listed all my bona fides, and thought maybe, you know, that's as far as it would go. And 2 days later, Dan comes back to me and goes, Ron Paul, I'd love to give you his endorsement. And I was like, no shit. And so then I thought maybe I'd get like a little word blurb or something, you know, and a couple days after that, they sent me this video. It's, you know, a fucking 3-minute video, 2.5-minute video of Ron Paul literally doing a video endorsement of me. And I was at work when I opened it, and I'm like crying basically, like, it fucking, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like, holy shit. This is really happening right now. This is like the greatest, next to the birth of my children. This is the greatest thing that will ever happen to me in my life. You know,
Right.
if I never become a big name, never change society the way that I want to, move that Overton window, fucking Papa Ron Paul, the grandfather of liberty in this country, he endorsed me. So nobody can say anything that's going to make me feel bad about my work. That's for sure.
That's no doubt, dude. Well, and I mean, you've been, for at least 3 years, you've been constantly grinding, like just constantly. And when you started your podcast, I was like, oh, that's cool. You know, like, because I had found out about you through the Mises Caucus Facebook group. And then I heard you on Tom Wood's show, and I heard you talk to Pete, you know, and you're talking to all these guys I know. And I'm like, oh, like, I really like this guy. Like, this dude is like on my level. He's a real guy. And I always liked that about you. You never came across as being pretentious or anything like that. You always came across as a real guy.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And I think that's why I did so well in my chair runs, you know. When I ran in 2017 against Nick Sarwark, or in 2018, but I started in 2017. Nobody knew who the fuck I was at all. You know what I mean? I kind of came out of the blue. I was working for the Washington State Party in Southern Washington. I was like a region rep. Nobody really knew who I was. I was a blue collar, working class maintenance dude working. I think at that time I was working at a big electronics manufacturing plant. I was like the lead tech there. And, you know, I kind of did it as a challenge to the Sarwarkian side of the Libertarian Party, because I was like, look, this is the party that I'm a part of, and you guys are fucking embarrassing me, and you're embarrassing a large swath of this party. And I reached out to a bunch of big name libertarians, and they were like, dude, you're crazy. Nicholas Sarwark's running for his 3rd term. He's a trial lawyer. He's one of the most popular chairs this party's ever had. I'm not going to do it. And so it finally got to a point where it's like, well, shit, nobody's going to do it. I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to sit here and complain if I'm not going to step up. And I was like, and I had a big enough following from the publication that we put out. I was like, well, you know, if nothing else, it'll be a good challenge. I never expected to do what I did. You know what I mean? Like, it was never it was my intention. I was like, well, shit, it'd be great to win, but I never expected it to turn into what it was. I never expected to get on the Libertarian National Committee. I never expected to travel. You know, that specific campaign, that's only one of 2 campaigns over the last 4 years. I went to 26 states. I spoke to thousands of libertarians in person, shook hands all over the country. I spent 2 weeks on Adam Kokesh's campaign bus, driving to, you know, like all this shit. Like,
you don't know where you were driving because you were so high. It's like hanging out with Willie Nelson.
Yeah. Even if you don't smoke weed, you're gonna get high on that bus, dude, for sure. But no, yeah, there was we went to like a couple different states, and then he's like, hey, we're gonna go and meet up with my friend Marcus in the forest in Indiana for this thing called Elf Fest. And I'm like, the fuck, Elf Fest? Oh God. So we show up, and there's this like little town built inside of the forest in rural Indiana called Lothlorien, right? And every year they put on this big thing called Elf Fest. And we showed up there, and it was like hippies and communists and like, but they were like fire dancers, and they had this big Thunderdome shit with like a fire going in the middle, and people are playing drums, and they were like eating these mushroom chocolates, and I was like, oh fuck it, I'll eat some mushroom chocolates too, you know. So I did get high with Adam Kokesh at Elf Fest with the naked people everywhere at this little wood city called Lothlorien in rural Indiana. It was fucking wild, dude. It was a wild night. But yeah, I mean, just all this different shit that I had never done, and never in states I had never been to, and regional foods I had never tried. And it was crazy, dude. I got a lot of support, and I never expected to do that. And I think that's why it resonated so well with people, is because I was just a regular fucking dude. I wasn't like a piece of shit trial lawyer, used car salesman who was trying to fuck over libertarians all around the country. I was a guy who was like serious about the ideology and seriously thought I had a blueprint to make the party a better party, a party that people wouldn't be embarrassed by. And so that's what I did, you know. And I really think that me just being a normal dude resonated. So
I think, I definitely think that's a big thing. And I talked to Pete about this, not the last podcast I did with Pete, but the podcast before. We were talking about the people that are attracted to libertarianism. And I was like, look, man, I was like, you got to understand, I know what my role is. I'm a truck driver, man. I'm a blue collar guy. I'm rough around the edges. I'm in your face. Not everybody's going to be attracted to me, right? True. I'm not Scott Horton. I'm not Pete Quinones, right? It's just, I know who I am. But I think that a lot of what the libertarian movement, if you want to call it a movement, like however you want to describe it, is missing, is that blue collar, like every day, like Joe Blow, you know, the everyman. And there's not enough of that blue collar representation in the Libertarian Party.
There's not enough blue collar representation in any of government, in any of the political parties. And that's something that I've talked about a lot. I actually just did a show, a live show for Break the Cycle on my show, with Shane Scalf and Nico from the Hoppitarians. Mm-hmm. Great, fucking beautiful, wonderful people. I love them to death, sweethearts. And I was just talking about this exact same thing. I said, you know, until you start voting for people that have lived your fucking struggles, they will never, ever have your best interest at heart, because none of these people, none of them have lived the struggle. None of them have had to deal with the same everyday, normal, red-blooded American bullshit that we've had to live through. All of these people grew up affluent. All of them grew up with everything they've ever wanted. You know, I grew up in Section 8 housing with a single mom that worked 3 jobs raising 2 kids. Right. You know what I mean? I know how we struggled. I know what the struggle's about. You know what I mean? And so it can be a really hard life for a lot of people. And these, you know, we just keep voting for the same shitty fucking people over and over and over again. And it's like these people are telling you who they are every day. These authoritarian policies, the never-ending wars, the Federal Reserve, you know, the last 18 months during COVID, every single authoritarian, totalitarian bullshit policy that they put through, or mandate that they put through, every single one for my entire life that you're cheering on is eventually going to come back in the end and bite you in the ass.
Yes.
And always, you know,
yes.
Whether it be the Patriot Act, whether it be any of this shit that you cheered on, eventually it's going to be used against you. And you know, people are so short-sighted. It comes down to that whole like Hoppe time preference theory, right? Like everybody wants it now, wants it now, wants it now. But then they don't understand that, you know, 10 years from now, it's going to be bending you over. And then 10 years, 20 years after that, it's going to be bending your children over, you know? And so I think personally for me, I don't want to vote for any more rich people, dude. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't want to vote for, you know, I don't want to vote for any more people who've never struggled, people who've never had to live a life like mine. You know, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want the Nancy Pelosi's of the world running this country anymore. They're fucking shitty. They don't know what it's like to be a normal human. That's, you know, they may not really be lizards, but they might as fucking well be lizards. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because that's about as close as they are to what I've lived.
I can hear the people also saying like, well, AOC was a bartender. AOC was,
yeah, well, every once in a while,
but you know what?
She's affluent like, too, though.
Yeah, but she went to a major university, you know, and it was all financed. She's got all these major donors that have been backing her since day one. Like none of these people are average Joes. You know,
and occasionally some will slip through the cracks. Don't get me wrong, you know, I don't think that I'm not a fan of his, but Dan, whatever his fuck name, we'll just call him One-Eyed Willie from Texas.
Oh, Dan Crenshaw.
Yeah, Dan Crenshaw.
Funny story. My wife used to work with his cousin.
Oh shit. Well, he didn't grow up. He didn't grow up super affluent. He went and joined the military and shit like that. There occasionally some slip through the cracks. Unfortunately, they're usually shitheads too. You know what I mean? But they're not blue collar people. AOC was never a blue collar person. You working at a fucking bar on the weekends does not mean that you're blue collar. Trust me, I've worked in bars too. Yeah. I'm talking. I want the people who have fucking had to live paycheck to paycheck most of their life to run this country, because those people understand what's going on, and a lot of those people, when people like that get a lot of money, typically they're very good with it, because they're like, I don't ever want to go back to who I was before.
Right.
Like me, I grew up poor. I was poor as shit after getting out of the military. I struggled for a long time. Now I have a good job. I'm financially responsible, the sole provider for 9 people in this home. And I know how to make my money last. I know how to use it for things that are good. And I think that we need more people like that. And if we're going to have a government, that's the kind of people that should be in the government.
Well, you said you were in Iraq. Did you go to Afghanistan?
No, I never went to Afghanistan. I was on a carrier in Iraq, or in the Gulf. I was never actually on the ground in Iraq. I was a fuels guy. I was attached to the USS Constellation, and if you remember 2003, 2004, we were the biggest part of the shock and awe campaign. We actually dropped like 100 million tons of ordnance on Baghdad. So it was a shitty thing that actually when I got back, I realized, I was like, fuck, Baghdad's just like Oakland, California. You know what I mean? Like there's houses and cars and family pets, and the kids have dreams and goals and aspirations. And we just dropped 100 million fucking tons of ordnance on the city.
Yeah.
And
I remember that.
Yeah. It took me a long time to get over it, dude,
Yeah. Well, I had just gotten discharged. I had just gotten my honorable discharge from the Army right before that happened.
Sure.
And I remember watching, I think I was watching CNN. I couldn't tell you with any certainty what I was watching, because that was quite a few years ago. But I do remember watching the bombs being dropped, in live. Oh yeah. And they were showing. So I was probably watching some of the shit coming off of your ship.
Oh, I'm sure, 100%. I mean, we were probably 75% of the shock and awe campaign. That was those bombs came off our carrier, our battle group. So
yeah. What did you make of the Afghanistan move? Obviously, as libertarians, we're pretty excited that we're finally getting these fucking troops out of there. We're going to stop killing fucking women and children in Afghanistan. But there was some embarrassment as far as the U.S. goes with the whole withdrawal. I've read recently that there are still American citizens or employees of the American government that have kind of been abandoned in the country of Afghanistan. So what do you make of everything that's going on?
No, I think it was fucking horrendous. I think it was really ugly. I also think it came 20 years too late, you know?
I mean, Scott, even in Fool's Errand, Scott had pretty much said that there was no good way to do this.
There was no good way to do this. And that's the thing. I had this conversation with my neighbors and several other pretty normie people. And they're like, yeah, but the Taliban's taken back over. It wouldn't have fucking mattered if we left a year after we got there, 10 years after we got there, 20 years, 40 years after we left there. The Taliban was still going to take over.
Right.
I mean, we were there for 21 years. Okay. And we left, and overnight the Taliban had regained the capital. Overnight.
Yeah.
Okay. They were always going to retake Afghanistan.
Yeah.
They did it when Russia left.
Fought, and nobody put up a struggle.
Of course
nobody put up a fight.
We went over there for 20 years. Whatever. We went over there for 20 years and trained 300,000 Afghan troops. And when the Taliban came knocking, they laid down their guns and ran.
Yeah.
And there's only 70,000 Taliban members. 300,000 Afghan military members dropped their weapons and ran. 300,000. What do you want from us?
I've been watching here recently because we do live so close to the Gulf, and so we've been getting a lot of caravans driving through military vehicles, and you can see the highway from my house, but you can't see my house from the highway. It's really nice. And so we'll be watching at night, and last night my wife goes, "What is this?" I said, "Well, they got to move those vehicles in from Afghanistan somewhere. They got to put them somewhere. There's a National Guard base down the road, you know." And I'm like, "Yeah, they got to put them somewhere." Yeah. And she goes, "Wait, you're telling me that it was like over the last 3 days, there's been like 5 different like caravans coming through?" And she's like, "You're telling me all these vehicles came from Afghanistan?" I said, "Most likely." I was like, "We've never seen this much military personnel on the streets down here in Southeast Texas before. Suddenly the war in Afghanistan ends, and here it is like a week later, and there's all these military vehicles, you know, running down the road constantly." I was like, more than likely that's where they're coming from.
Oh, yeah.
There's no other explanation. Like, it doesn't really make sense that they would just be like, "Oh, okay, well, let's start driving around Southeast Texas now." You know, like,
right. Well, it's funny because everybody keeps talking about these Blackhawks that we left there, right? They're like, "Oh, they got these Blackhawks. We left these Blackhawks. They're flying Blackhawks. Oh yeah, the Afghanistan has an air force, or the Taliban has an air force now, you know." And I'm like, do you guys understand that they literally made a movie about how Blackhawks go down? Like, it's literally like the most crashed aircraft in the world, and these people are untrained pilots. They won't have those Blackhawks very, very long, I promise you. They've already been trying to get someone who can work on them because they've already got like 3 of them down. You know what I mean? It's like they're not going to be around for very long.
Yeah, they're not dependable. Like,
those are the worst. I would never ever in the military. I would never ever want to be in a Black Hawk. That's like the one aircraft I would like to just stay completely the fuck away from. They go down more than any other aircraft in the military. They're terrible garbage. So.
I was in one, and then I jumped out of it. But yeah,
fair. I never rode one of those. I rode a Greyhound once, not a helicopter. Off the flight deck, which was, if you've ever taken off from a flight deck, it's pretty scary shit. Zero to 100 real fast.
we had to qualify because I was airborne.
Sure.
And so we had to qualify jumping out all kinds of shit.
Yeah, I bet.
And yeah, like jumping out of a helicopter is really strange though. Because when you come out of a C-130, right? Like, the C-130 is traveling one direction, and you come out of it, and your body goes the other direction.
Right away from it, yeah.
Yeah, but when you jump out of a helicopter, you just go straight down. It just pushes you straight down. Yeah. It's a very weird feeling. It's kind of like, you know, like at the amusement parks, like Six Flags and shit like that, they have like the dungeon drop and shit like that, where they lift you way up and they just drop you. It's like that. Like your stomach is in your throat and you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Sure.
You know, your chute pulls before you even like blink. Like you're not even conscious of what's happening. Your chute pulls already. You're like, okay, like I just have to land. I just have to land now. Like that's all I have to do. Like, because you don't have time to think about what's going on, and so yeah, it's a really strange feeling to come out of a helicopter. I'd much rather jump out of a plane than a helicopter.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've never done the helicopter. I've jumped out of planes, but they're little, you know, skydiving planes. I've nothing as cool as the military.
I've never been skydiving, and I've always wanted to be skydiving. I've never jumped out of anything over 1,000 feet.
Oh shit, yeah. Much higher than that. But here's the thing: I've skydived, and now I don't need to ever skydive ever again. I'm like, that's where I'm at. I'm like, okay, I fucking did it, and it was fun at the time. I was also. I probably dribbled a little piss. And I don't need to do it anymore, man. It's terrifying shit. I was like, I survived it. Good to go. Only got it once.
I dribbled a little piss when I saw your name pop up on my fucking computer. I was like, oh shit, he's here.
Oh shit! I know I was a little early too. I was a little early. I was like, I got done with my show at like 8:40, and then I was like, oh, I'll just go and have a cigarette and then come right back. And then it was like, oh, I got 10 minutes. Fuck it, I'll go now. See if he's ready.
Oh, like I could have waited for you to have a cigarette. I smoke while I'm
No, I
there.
had one. I had one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had one between that and coming here because I had a little time. And but yeah, I got here like 10 minutes early, so I figured, well, maybe he's there. I know I always tell people to come early to my podcast because I have to do audio and video checks to make sure everything's okay since it's live, you know.
Right.
And usually people are pretty good about showing up, 5 or 10 minutes early, thankfully.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm always 15 minutes early. My mom taught me from a very young age, if you're not 15 minutes early, you're running late.
Yeah.
So yeah. I get my wife gets so irritated at me because I'll be like, I'm not going to be 15 minutes early. Like, this is fucking with me.
Yeah, I try to be as punctual as possible. My job's funny because we relieve a shift when we come on.
Right.
There's only 4 of us, and there's only 4 shifts. So there's 2-day shifts, 2 night shifts, and that's how it works. That covers every single day of the week, Monday through Friday or Monday through Sunday.
Right.
And so we have to do like a pass down on what went on in the facility in our 12-hour shift and stuff. And so you have to be there. Like, my shift doesn't start till 6, but I get there at 5:30, between 5:30 and 5:45 every day because we got to do pass down. And you like to get the guy out of there as soon as he can, relieve it as early as possible, even though you still work 12 hours,
Yeah.
But so I'm, I know in my head, like, okay, as long as I'm there by 6, I'm okay. But I need to be there by 5:45 at the latest, So I don't know.
So you had told me coming into the interview that you had a big announcement today, and I thought, like, let's go ahead and do it. Let's talk about
Yeah, perfect timing, man. Yeah, I announced for vice chair today. So I'm in my second term as an at-large rep. I've run for chairman twice. I had said at the beginning of the year that I was going to run for chairman again. I announced that. Then once I realized that Angela was running and that, the committee would be in good hands under Angela. I'm a big fan. I worked closely with her. I
love Angela. I've had her on twice.
Yeah, she's great and
awesome.
I was on the California board with Angela. I was good friends with Angela. I've stayed the night at her house. I mean, she's the homie. And so I knew it would be in good hands, competent hands. I figured, okay, well, I got my show to focus on. I got the kids, my job, all that stuff. That's probably where I should be focusing my efforts. And if I run for at-large again, then I run for at-large. And so I dropped out of the chair race. Threw around the idea of running for vice chair here and there. And then when they started really going after Karen Ann, I had Karen Ann on my show. And I told Karen Ann that I was thinking about running for vice chair. She said, if you do it, I'll endorse you. I'll break my rule of endorsing and endorse you publicly. And I was like, wow, okay. Because she was having some problems with Aaron Adams, who's the Region 7 representative now that took over for Whitney when Whitney became the chair. And they were having some issues, and Aaron Adams was saying that she was going to run for vice chair, and so she would endorse me. Well, today they had the LNC meeting this weekend, and I had to cover shifts at work because we have a couple guys out for COVID, and so I couldn't go to the LNC meeting this weekend. It sucked, and I was like, "Fuck," I wanted to go there and speak up for Karen Ann and stuff because they're putting through this motion to remove Karen Ann Harlos, who's the secretary of the party. But in the end, it wouldn't have mattered. They needed 11 votes, whether I was there or not, and they got 11 votes to remove her. But earlier in the day, I had said if Aaron Adams votes to remove Karen Ann Harlos, who was her good friend from the board of the National Committee, I would run for vice chair. You could consider this my announcement for vice chair. And she voted to remove Karen Ann Harlos, and I'm a fucking man of my word, man. And so I announced that I'd be running for vice chairman of the Libertarian National Committee for 2022 term. And Karen Ann Harlos immediately within an hour endorsed me publicly. She's a woman of her word, always has been. And so now we're doing the fucking thing. And I'm going to be campaigning. I'll be in the Illinois State Convention October 8th and 9th to speak with them there. And, I'm going to start going to every state convention I can make it to when the time allows and the finances allow. And hopefully get that vice chair win, and then you guys will have a national. This is what I expect to happen in Reno. The National Committee officers, chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer will be Angela McCardle, Joshua Smith, Karen Ann Harlos, and the Libertarian in chief, Todd Hagopian, will likely be the treasurer if the Mises Caucus supports him. So it would be a very different board than we've seen before, and it'll be a good board. It'll be a younger board with more fire in their belly for the actual principles. And it'll be a board that's not just going to play petty, shitty, fucking skullduggery games on the board all the time. So that's what I'd like to see.
What I don't, if you're not comfortable talking about this, then you don't have to talk about it. But what was going on with Karen Ann? Because I got on Twitter the other day and I saw somebody saying that she was being attacked, and I was like, what the hell's going on now? Like,
so, well, you remember the New Hampshire party stuff, right?
Right. I was going to bring that up
Yeah.
because I know people that were elected in New Hampshire that lost the keys. They lost the codes to get into everything, and then they received it. But I could never figure out why her and Justin O'Donnell were being targeted the way they were being targeted. Because they're both, like, I've never talked to Karen Ann, but I've seen her on other shows, and she seems like a reasonable person. I've had Justin O'Donnell on my show. I think he's a great dude.
Yeah, I like Justin too. And Justin's made some changes because me and Justin did not get along for a long time. We were on the board together for a term, and he did not like me. And he's made some big changes. And I think for as much as he disliked some of the things I did over my campaigns, I think he started to see the same things that I was seeing with the National Committee. And so he's become just absolutely fucking based, and I love it. I love him to death.
Oh, he's
I love
fire, man. I love that
I love
dude.
Justin.
Like,
I love Justin O'Donnell very much.
One of my favorite Twitter accounts. I love
There's
Justin.
several people in New Hampshire who myself and them did not get along, did not like each other, that now I am very fond of, and I'm a big fan of. And O'Donnell's one of those people for sure. I really like the guy a lot. And but here's what happened. I'm gonna break it down in the easiest way possible. Okay, it's being strewn around on different social media sites as something that it's fucking not. This is exactly what happened when the New Hampshire takeover tried to happen. What happened was, the Mises Caucus has gotten fucking organized. They've been called Nazis. They've been called bigots. They've been called transphobes. They've been called homophobes. They've been called everything in the book that you can throw at them from a wokest leftist perspective for trying to change the culture of the party to a more libertarian friendly culture. So in the face of all of that, adversity, we were able to organize that caucus so well that now, in 4 years of being around, it owns 26 state boards in this country. And that's with a whole nother convention season leading up to the next national convention, where they'll undoubtedly take another 20% at least of the remaining 50% of the state boards. Easily. They will walk away with that, probably more. And so New Hampshire is the state that Nicholas Sarwark moved to last year. Right. Okay, from Arizona, he moved to New Hampshire to be a part of the Free State Project, which is hilarious because the people at the Free State Project fucking hate him. And so he moved there with the intention of getting his way into these, the state politics and all that shit. He started a think tank. He started a policy institute. He's getting a check from fucking Bill Weld to do this shit, And what he found was that we had organized New Hampshire already. And when he ran for treasurer of the state party, he got fucking noted. Right. Literally lost to no one. Yes. That was embarrassing for a 3-time national chairman trial lawyer who had been the most popular person in the party for several years.
Anybody who doesn't know what you mean by NODA, it means
none of the above.
He lost to none of the above. I mean,
This was the unopposed
Brewster's Millions happening in our lifetime.
He ran against no one and lost to no one, essentially, is what that means. And so it was fucking embarrassing for him. And so there was this skiff of libertarians, 13 libertarians in New Hampshire, who were unhappy that the Mises Caucus had swept the board positions there, including that treasurer spot that Nick vied for. So they came together and they decided, well, as soon as they fuck up, we're going to steal this party from them. And so they gave the keys to Jeremy Kauffman, who's based as fuck, to the Twitter, and he started making some crazy shit, right? Some crazy things on there, like Dr. Fauci to Gitmo, which fine, if we're gonna have Gitmo, who's a better candidate to go to fucking Gitmo than Dr. Fauci, right? And so so he started making this series of crazy tweets, and they decided to pull the plug. So they pulled all the social media assets, all the shit, all away from the duly elected party, and decided they were starting their own New Hampshire party. And we all fucking know that Nick Sarwark was a part of that. Okay. So was Valerie Sarwark, his wife, who sits on the national committee. Then we found out that Joe, the national chairman at the time, had sent a letter to the New Hampshire chair who had defected from the thing, saying that her party was the valid Libertarian Party in New Hampshire. Okay. So Karen and I saw this. Karen Ann and I saw this happening. We knew right away there was corruption involved. And so we fucking took action. Our chairman got us involved by being involved in this.
Right.
And he did it. He circumvented the board and did it on his own. He didn't even talk to the board about it. So he dragged us into this shit. So we sat down with the duly elected ex-com from New Hampshire in a Zoom meeting and talked to them. Then we sat down with Gilletta Jarvis, who was the defected chair of that ex-com, and we talked to her, and we got all the information that they had to tell us. It all lined up, and we realized that our chair had done something very shady, probably with the help of the old chair and his wife and a few other people in that state. Mostly wokest Sarwarkians. And so we flailed on the board because we're like, this shit can't stand. We're a Libertarian Party. The people trusted us to do the bidding of the delegates. This shit can't stand. And so we flailed. Well, it seems that there was probably some people involved that were on the board too, that were very unhappy that this had been exposed. One of those people was probably the chair lady of the old Prague caucus that's now defunct over all this. They actually disbanded because of this. Laura Ebke.
Didn't they all join the Green Party or some shit like that?
Some joined the Green Party. Some just stopped paying their dues, including Nick Sarwark stopped paying his dues to the national committee and stuff like that. That's fine. Fucking go. I don't care. So I think that those people were very upset that we exposed their shitty plan. And so they started piling on me and Karen Ann. And I'm very like standoffish from the board emails. I don't deal with all that shit because all they do is bicker. I don't have fucking time for that. You know what I mean? I got way too much shit going on. And so I essentially just would hop on and make like a smart remark like, oh yeah, that's really cool. You're being super adult like right now or something stupid, you know? Yeah. But Karen Ann would go on there and argue for hours because she was hurt. She was hurt that the board would do this. And so they realized that since we were the ones who exposed them, their retaliation would be trying to remove us. If they could remove Karen Ann, they'll come for me next. And so they've been trying to remove Karen Ann since fucking June.
Right. I knew that was going on. Yeah. And then you
Laura
just
Ebke,
saying that she did get removed. Like, yeah, that's the first I ever heard.
So there was 2 motions made on the online thing. They both failed for Ken Molman, who was the interim chair until we picked a chair, who ended up being Whitney, who obviously doesn't give a shit about our bylaws. So he called both the motions out of order, and finally they just stopped making them because they knew that he was going to keep calling them out of order. Well, they had in our first in-person meeting coming up, which was this weekend, and Laura Ebke, with 7 days notice, gave notice that she'd be making a motion to remove Karen Ann Harlos from the board. And she gave a list of particulars as to why she would be removed. And it was all her social media shit. Like they were using her personal social media shit to attack her. And when they got to the board meeting, they ended up having the 11 votes they needed to remove her, and they fucking removed her today, dude.
No shit.
Yep. Fucking horrible, dude.
Yeah,
it was their retaliation for exposing their golden child, Joe Bishop Henchman.
So much of the focus of my podcast is to point out abuses of power and how bad things have gotten and the direction in which we're heading as a society. And it can be a real black pill. I've partnered up with Richard Grove to offer my listeners an opportunity to sign up to his Autonomy Course. The Autonomy Course is designed for people looking for solutions, people that want to shape their own future, people that are not willing to be at the behest of large corporations or the United States government or the banking system. The Autonomy Course is designed for those of you who wish to have complete control of the reins of your life, who are looking to be successful, that to thrive and not just survive, to provide for your family by utilizing your existing skills and learning how to market and sell those skills in order to be your own boss, or learn new skills in order to leverage that into a new career opportunity. So if there's a job out there you've been trying to get or you've been wishing you could get, but you just don't have the skills for it, the Autonomy Course is the place for you to start, to learn how to land that position, to learn how to market yourself better, to gain confidence, and to be surrounded by a community of like-minded people that will encourage you and help you along the way. So use my affiliate links and go check out the Autonomy Course. It could be right for you.
Yeah, well, and he stepped down like shortly after all this stuff.
He started a motion to remove Karen Ann Harlos and then stepped down right after.
Yeah, it was really weird. A good friend of mine is I think he's communications director in New Hampshire, Eric Sawyer.
Sure, yeah, I know Eric Sawyer. He's from Boston.
Yeah.
Originally, yeah.
Yep.
Good dude.
Yeah, he's got a funny accent, but he's a goody guy.
He's one of those mass holes.
I'm hoping he's listening so he hears me talking shit on him. But no, like he's a really good friend of mine, and I love Eric. He did Ron Paul. What was it? The Revolution Report.
Yeah, Revolution Report with my friend
Chaz.
from Florida. Well, Chaz was on it, and also my buddy from Florida who does all the cool vaporwave stuff.
Yeah.
God, why am I so Mitch?
There you go.
Yeah.
I can see his face. I couldn't think of his name.
Yeah.
I knew you were talking about.
I always know him from his Twitter account handle, which is not Mitch. And I'm not going to put him on blast like that, but yeah, those guys are cool as fuck. I was on that show. I went on that show and I was running for chair last year. So
yeah, I went on that. They drug me on there one time drunk trying to talk about fucking Waco. I just made my wife talk. I was like, I'm way too drunk for this.
Nice.
Yeah. So I knew a little bit of what was going on because of Eric, and he had kind of kept me informed on a little bit of the ins and outs of what was happening. I didn't know that it was still a possibility for Karen Ann to lose her position. I thought that was all taken care of. So that's kind of a shock to me that
they fucked her.
Yeah, that's pretty shocking. So the thing is, like, all right, so there's this, I wouldn't say a movement. There's a lot of people in the libertarian space talking about the potentiality or lack thereof of the Libertarian Party to bring forth liberty into the political arena. What do you make of these arguments that are being made? Because I feel like there is something there, and just to be completely open with you, I kind of consider myself more an agorist. So
Sure.
I kind of look at it and I'm like, okay, yeah, 'cause I've kind of abandoned the entire notion of acting politically.
Sure, yeah, and you know I'm a big fan of counter economics. I like Samuel Konkin. I think agorism's a wonderful tool to push back on the state. I have no problem with people who are agorists. I think it's a great way. If you don't want to involve yourself with politics, then the best way to fight back into the state is to opt the fuck out.
Right.
And so you know, my problem is not with the ideology. It's with a lot of the people who preach the ideology hating on me and my friends who are trying to do things that are politically active. And it seems that that's becoming kind of a trend with some people. You know, these people like Matt King Pilled or Christ Pilled and
King Pilled,
King Pilled. I like Matt. I think he's a nice guy.
Matt Erickson. I've had him on the show twice. Yeah,
I like Matt,
he's a
and
good dude.
I do not like Vin Armani at all. I'm not. It's not even that I'm just not a fan of his. I just really don't like that guy. His condescension towards everyone is. It's bush league, dude. Really, it's bad. The guy fucked midgets for money. So, I'm not a big fan. And Jason Stapleton now is going around talking a bunch of shit about the Meacocks and stuff like that. It's like, dude, fuck off. Like, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Like, what is any of your concern? Like, okay, you don't think politics is going to help anything. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm not going to go and talk shit about you with that. In fact, I wish I could agora my way right the fuck out of society too. I do. Trust me. But I feel like, if you have a problem, if you're a mechanic or any kind of tradesman, and you have your tool bag or your toolbox and you have a problem and one tool is not getting it done, but you have 3 tools that can do the job at the same fucking time, then use them all. Right. So for me, there's different tools. You got counter economics. I think it's great. I'm a big fan of crypto, Bitcoin. Get involved in that shit. Lobby the fucking government. Fucking insurrection. I don't know. Do something. Do whatever it is that you're going to do to try and roll back the state in your own personal life. That's fine. If you want to try and do it for others, it's really hard to do it any other way than through the political process. It sucks. I think the best way to do it is community wise, right? Like, so for me, we have, an ordinance here that they'll fine you if your lawn gets too long, right? And my neighbors are just used to it, right? They're like, oh, it's just, there's this ordinance and we have to follow this ordinance. And if we don't, we get fined and we just have to deal with it, Well, I could go run for city council or find a city council candidate. It's like, yo, I'm going to fucking get rid of these city ordinances. They're bullshit.
Yeah, I mean,
now,
what if it's rained in your area for 3 weeks? You can't mow the lawn.
Right. And so say I'm the candidate locally who runs that. Now I get to go tell my neighbors, like, if you guys vote for me, I'll end these stupid fucking ordinances that hey, James, I know you got fucking fined for parking that RV on your side yard for a couple of days. I'll be the guy that will end those ordinances. And now they see it as they're like, oh, well, this is going to enrich my life. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'll vote for that guy. And yeah, it sucks. Like I wish that the political system wasn't legitimized in the United States. The fact of the matter is that to 90% of the people in this country, it is. It fucking is. No matter how much we want to spout Rothbard and Samuel Conkin and Benjamin Tucker and Lysander Spooner and all this shit, the normies don't give a fuck. They don't care. So to me, the political process is a way to educate my neighbors. It's a way to educate my community on the dangers of central planning and the horrors of fucking the wars and the Federal Reserve and all this shit they've been legitimizing their entire lives. And so I just see it as another tool in the toolbox. I mean, I could spend my whole life trying to do this shit and it may never work, but at least I fucking tried. You know what I mean? And I didn't sit around and watch the Mises Caucus grow the way that they have for the last 4 years and become this force for liberty, where they've gotten local libertarians elected. They've worked on issue-based coalitions like Decrim Denver and the gun legislation laws in Texas, and they've worked on all these things. And I didn't sit on the sidelines and throw stones at them and let them do the work until they started becoming successful and then join in, because who does that? Communists. You know what I mean? I got in there and I became part of the fight. And I'm one of the reasons why they fucking have become as big as they are and have done as much as they've done. And so I get to look back and go, hey, that I did that shit. I took that caucus on my back like a fucking target to 40 states over the last 4 years and shook hands with everybody and told them why the Mises Caucus was important. I was the biggest recruiter in the party for several years. You know what I mean? I know that we can be successful if we do the right things in political sphere. We may not change the world. We may not change the country, but I know damn well we've already changed some communities. I know that for sure.
Yeah, you've stopped some people from going to prison, things like that. Yeah, and that matters. I mean, and I'm not saying that what y'all are doing doesn't matter. I'm curious, I think what I'm curious about is what your stance is on the Tho Bishop argument, though. I think that's kind of where I'm coming from.
I think half of Tho Bishop's argument is great. I'm a big fan of Tho Bishop.
Oh, I think he's a brilliant guy.
I love Tho. I don't have a bad word to say about Tho. I wish Tho would shut the fuck up about trying to nag me and my friends that are in the Mississauga, for sure. But you know, look, if you don't want to join the Libertarian Party, I get it, man. I do. It's hard for me to be a member of the Libertarian Party sometimes, dude. It really is. It's the only party that exudes my principles. Like, legitimately, it's the only one. But if you literally cannot, for the life of you, join the Libertarian Party, but you want to be active in politics, then please go to the Republicans and please try to make the Republicans more liberty-based. Yes, please do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I agree. I can't join the Republican Party. I was a member of the Republican Party and a hardcore neocon. And then I worked on Ron Paul's campaign and I watched what the Republicans think of liberty. I saw it with my own eyes. I saw them arresting Ron Paul delegates at the fucking door at the convention in Louisiana. I saw them change the entire convention rules at the national convention to shut down Ron Paul delegates. They don't give a fuck about liberty in the Republicans. But if you think you can change the Republican Party from the inside, by all means, try.
Yeah. Okay. that's a fair point. I mean, but it seems to separate the movement in diametrical ways. Like it seems to, like you're working with the Libertarian Party, Tho Bishop working with the Republican Party. Part of me thinks like, okay, if we can get the agorists like myself to work with libertarians and the Tho Bishops of the world, like maybe we could accomplish something. Maybe. Sure. You know, but
like they can't join the Libertarian Party. They have to understand that there's people like me who just cannot join the Republican Party, man. Just cannot do it, you know?
Right. Well, I mean, but we're all so individually motivated and have our own agendas or goals in mind. And it makes it really hard to come together on these things. Whereas, like, I don't find it, even though they, like, let's say you and I share the exact same ideology, right? I joined the Libertarian Party twice, and I was just like 2 years in a row, and I was like, I'm not doing this again. Like, this feels like I'm wasting money, like, because I'm not going to drive to freaking Austin 6 hours from my house to go listen to a bunch of blue-pilled fucking leftists tell me what they think libertarianism is. It's like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So, like, for me, my goal is, like, all right, like, I'll work here on my property. I get to know my neighbors. I live in a small community of, like, 2,000 people. You know, we don't have any kind of, like, our city hall has never been open. It's the way we raise funds is we have crawfish boils and carnivals.
Sure.
You know, like it's all voluntary.
How life should be.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm kind of like, all right, I'm kind of in a good position here. I don't need to be part of the Republicans. I don't need to be part of the Libertarian Party. Neither of them make any sense to me. Sure. Where I'm at. And
that's totally cool, man. I get it, you know.
Well,
like I totally understand it.
Well, yeah, but I think my what I'm trying to get at is there's got to be some place of reason where people in my situation, agorists, that look at the scenario and say, well, it makes no sense to be involved politically, where and those involved on the libertarian side and the Republican side who are more of the liberty-minded Republicans, there's got to be a place where we can all meet and come together and work together in some way. And I just can't quite put together, because it seems like everybody's at each other's throat so much about the right way to go about liberty that it's like, okay, like, you're never going to accomplish what you're setting out to accomplish because you're too worried about arguing and yeah, just arguing and fighting with people that think like you do and how pure they are. And it's really frustrating from my perspective.
Yeah. It's hard to have like a coalesced liberty movement, dude. It really is. It's a hard thing. That's why I always look at it as like the toolbox, right? Like, whatever tools you can use, fucking use them. I don't care if we're all coalesced at the same place, because at the end of the day, and here's the cool thing for agorists. I had Patrick Smith on my show from Anarchcast and Disenthrall Media. And in fact, he hosted a debate between myself and Larkin Rose. It was like a 2.5 hour debate on this exact topic. The, you know, is political activism in line with anarcho philosophy, or, you know, libertarian thought? And 2.5 hour debate with Mr. Larkin Rose, who's he's a heavyweight, intellectual heavyweight. I'm not.
Yeah. Been around for a while. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
But I said the same thing. It's like, it's a toolbox, man. It's really what it is. And if what tools you have, you should use. But Patrick Smith, I had Pat on my show, and Patrick said, I asked Patrick, I said, what do you think the most important thing to do to push liberty in this country? Like, what's the most important thing we could do? And he said, and it shocked me for a minute, but then I realized how much sense it made. He said, the best thing you can do is improve your life.
Yes.
And I said, what do you mean? He said, improve your life. He said, if you know, your community, and I started thinking it, like my next door neighbors, we compete on who has the best snowblower. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We compete about who has the best looking lawn.
Yeah.
He's like, improve yourself and it'll improve your community.
Yeah.
Because if you improve yourself, your community wants to do better. And it made so much sense to me, you know, and that's kind of, to me, like what the agorist ideal should be about improving your life so that your community gets better. Right.
Yeah.
So that's an important tool. I think that's like the number one tool we can use. So I agree with that. But we're not always there's no way in hell we're going to have a coalesced liberty movement, especially with the philosophy, the written as it is in so many different ways by so many different philosophers, and so many people take philosophy at complete face value and run with it, and it's got to be their number one. It's like I love these books, man. I love Rothbard. I love Hoppe. I love Mises. I love Konkin and Tucker and Spooner, and I've read a bunch of left-wing shit like Bakunin and Proudhon and Marx and Engels and
De Cleyre is still my favorite.
Yeah, Voltairine, and I mean, I've read all this shit, all of it. But if you pick one and only agree with that one,
yes,
and you never leave any room in your life to mold your principles, to mold society into something that's workable, then all you have is fucking books. You know what I mean? And so it's hard in the libertarian movement to coalesce around one message or one policy, because everybody has so many different, and that's the thing about freedom, dude. It's a messy, crazy thing that we all have different versions of in our head, man.
Yeah.
And so, you know, where you can work and start in your community always. And I think that's why I liked the Mises Caucus, because they're really big on working locally first, you know, and I think that's why they've been so successful.
Yeah, I know you bring up a lot there. Is like, it's triggering a lot of things. And first thought is Solzhenitsyn had made a comment that I am responsible for all of the evils of all man. And what he was getting at, and what he was like really like trying to say was, if you better yourself, it's kind of like the idea of that remember that movie Pay It Forward? It's kind of that idea. Like, if you do something better, if you better yourself, if you do something good in the world, then it will reflect on people that have interacted with you, and everybody that interacts with those people will then reflect something good. And so each individual person is responsible for all the atrocities and the evils of the world, because the evils of the world cannot happen without the individuals being complacent to those atrocities, right? And so basically aim yourself at the highest level that you can achieve, and therefore the people around you will see the good that you're putting out, and they will therefore reflect the good that you're putting out, and it carries itself in waves.
Sure. Well, and remember that Solzhenitsyn was sent to the gulag, man.
Right. Yeah.
No, so I look at it like this, dude. I would love to be an agorist, but I got fucking kids and bills and all kinds of crazy shit that they're very hard for me to opt out of without going to jail, and I got to take care of these kids.
You don't have to opt out of everything.
I know. I'd like to opt out of everything. You know what I mean? Tommy's like, that's the dream, is just tell them to go fuck themselves.
Just opt out of what you can. Don't opt out of everything.
I do opt out. I opt out of a few things. Trust me. There's some things that I could probably go to jail for. But to me, I look at it this way. If I'm an agorist, and it maybe in my heart I am an agorist, right? Like maybe that's what I want to do. I want to be completely self-sufficient, away from the state. And
right.
An easier way for me to get there is to turn more people into agorists. Yeah, turn more people into because the more people we have that are ready to commit civil disobedience, the better. So you can use. I mean, listen, and I talked about this with Tom Woods on one of his shows, and a quote that he told me sticks with me forever. 90%, probably more, of the people in this country, when they hear the word libertarian, they don't think about the Mises Institute. No. They don't think about the Cato Institute. They don't think about FEE or the Freedom and Economics Foundation or any of these great, wonderful think tanks. 95% of the people in this country, when they hear the word libertarian, they either don't know what the fuck you're talking about, or they think of the Libertarian Party.
It's not even that. It was one of the craziest fucking instances of when I actually was calling myself a libertarian, and Tucker Carlson went on air and he called Hillary Clinton's neo-lib policies of interventionism and Keynesian economics a libertarian.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that's what people think libertarians are. And if you talk to people that normies that don't know what libertarian is, you'll just listen to what they're saying. You're going to get this explanation that you're like, that's not even close.
Right.
So, you have no idea what the fuck is going on.
So this is the way I look at it. If we're going to have a libertarian party in this country, that a large portion of people in this country think of when they hear the word libertarian, then I want that fucking libertarian party to be educational and teach people what libertarianism is. So to me, it's important that we take over that libertarian party, even if we're never electorally successful. I want that outlet to be teaching people proper libertarian philosophy, policy, and theory, because at the end of the day, the Libertarian Party is the biggest libertarian think tank in this country, period. Plain and simple.
Possibly. But here's been a subject I've been covering with some people on my show over the last couple of weeks, or the last couple of months, actually, is how libertarians don't talk about narrative. They don't address narrative. They don't address story, right? Sure. If you listen to a lot of libertarians talk, and I'm not including you or me or, those that are respectful in the conversation, but if you listen to most libertarians, they sound like the audio version of Man, Economy, and State.
Right.
And they're going to put you to fucking sleep. Sure. So you got to incorporate story. If you watch any politician, what are they doing? They're up there speaking in metaphors. They're speaking in stories. They're saying things, and they're trying to reach the public in an emotional way. But libertarians don't seem to be doing that, right?
True.
Libertarians seem to be so focused on the philosophy that they forget that people have emotions too. And people are acting with their emotions long before they're acting philosophically.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, what was the study on that? They estimate that 78% of the population in the world react emotion based first before any logic.
Yep.
And it's a large it's a large majority of the people of humans.
I accept 78 because I thought it was 80, but so
Yeah,
I'll
it's up
accept
there.
78.
And there's some libertarians who are really good at that, man. Larry Sharp is really fucking good at that. You know what I mean? Like if you've ever listened to Larry Sharp talk, the man always tells a story when he's talking about libertarian policies. He always gives people like 3 different things. He's got like a whole way that he addresses people, and it's always the same blueprint. And it's really fucking good.
Right.
Whether you agree with him on everything or not, the man is good at reaching normie people. You know, and there's some people who are really good at that. I think Dave is really good at that. I think Tom Woods is really good at that. You know, old Tom here, let me tell you a story. I mean, Tom is really good at that.
Yeah.
And that's probably why he does so well. And there are some people that are out there that are good at that. The rank and file in the Libertarian Party are a bunch of fucking nerds that have no idea how to deal with people. I mean, that's really what it is. And the Mises Caucus is like their fucking anti-hero. You know what I mean? Like they're the people who do know how to reach people. They do know how to talk people, and they're threatening these asshole nerds, little tiny positions of power that they have in the party. That's why they call them bigots and white supremacists and Nazis and all this shit. Never mind the fact that there's trans people in Mises Caucus. Never mind the fact that there's Asian people and Mexican people and black people and gay people in the Mises Caucus. They don't give a shit about that. They only care about their little tiny positions of power. And they threaten because people who actually know what they're doing are coming and taking over. That's why they're flailing. But yeah, I mean, the rank and file of the Libertarian Party, at least for the last decade, have been exactly what you are talking about right now. They're the people who are arguing over, you know, the immigration and the abortion debate over and over and over again for a decade. And they have no power whatsoever to impose anything on those issues, not from a federal level or a state level. And so they've gotten into this, what I like to call the mindset of loserism. They're so used to losing that's all they know.
Yeah.
That's all they know. So they have to create their own enemies, because the Republicans and Democrats don't even look at them as an enemy, because they're not worried about them, because these nerds aren't doing anything.
Yeah.
So they create their own enemies to have their own fights, intra-party fights, and that's what they've become. And now that's all being threatened and challenged, and they're you know, they're like the scared kid on the schoolyard, man. They're running for cover.
Yeah.
So
all right, last thing I want to cover. I want to get your opinion on this, because this is something I've been saying for a while now. And Sal Mayweather, Sal the agorist,
I'll have Sal on the show at the end of the month.
Sal is a great dude, and I told him this when I had him on the show, and he was like, "I'm going to use that," and I was like, "All right, so I'm gonna run it by you and see what your initial reaction is to it." I keep telling people, I do not care what you do one day every 2 years. It's what you do the rest of your time that matters.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. It's true. I tell my kids something very similar. I don't care what you do when I'm watching you. I care about what you're doing when I'm not watching you. You know what I mean?
I used to tell my kids, that integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is looking.
Exactly. And that's my boy, you know, the adopted boy. We had the adopted girl who had her own issues, but the adopted boy, when we got him, he was like being used to steal things for a drug addict and sell them. And I mean, at 9 years old, he's 10 now.
Jeez.
And so he was just used to this kind of hustler lifestyle. You know what I mean?
He was kind of like the kid from Dick Tracy.
Yeah, exactly. He was like the kind of little street kid, and was just used to like, you know, his whole life was lying to people and trying to get over on people. And so when we got him, it was constant lying. We'd catch him with food in his room. He wasn't supposed to have any food in his room. He'd lie about it. He'd lie about what he was doing while we weren't home. I put a camera up in the living room, right? So I could watch, you know, from my cell phone. Right. And I started catching him in a bunch of lies, and then, you know, he started getting punished. And I told him, you know, we're a peaceful parents, so we don't, you know, no physical anything. But he's got a PlayStation that he wants to play. So, well, no, you can't play your PlayStation for a week. So he started learning consequences for his actions, you know, action, reaction. That's how life works. And I had to sit him down several times. And I told him, you know, I'm not doing this because I hate you, kid. I'm doing this because I love you, and I want you to have a good life. And the way you're going is not a good life. It could be the same for anything. You know, what matters is what you're doing when nobody's watching you. That makes it makes so much sense that you can teach it to your children.
Yes.
You know, and even kids who have had a rough go of it, like mine, have learned. Hey, this kid has made a huge 180. He's amazing. I'm so proud of him. He plays sports now. He does really well in school. I mean, it's a whole different life for him. The kid had did 1 day of first grade, and he was supposed to be in the fourth grade. And I got him in the fourth grade, and he didn't know how to write.
Man.
And he knows how to write and read, and he does all kinds of great things, art, science, everything. He's really good at it. And God, I fucking cried just talking about it, man. I'm so proud of the kid. But yeah, that was our biggest problem, and I was able to teach that to a 9-year-old. Yeah. You know what I mean? Everybody else should be able to understand that theory in their head that just because you're a good person to someone's face and an asshole when they turn around doesn't mean you're a good person.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
no. Well, this was fun, man.
Brother.
This was fun. I want to do it again.
Yeah, we will. Absolutely. Maybe we'll get you hooked up on Break the Cycle soon too.
Hell yeah. I'll do it.
I like it, man.
Yeah. I'm wearing a Top Lobster shirt, so he can.
Oh, nice.
He can draw me again.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm wearing the Epstein didn't kill himself shirt.
I have that shirt, and I have a hoodie. I have the hoodie version of it. It's a fucking bright purple hoodie. It's so cool. It's like such a conversation starter every time I go anywhere. Oh, why are you wearing that Jeffrey Epstein hoodie? Well, let me tell you about it. Come here. You know.
Yeah. The biggest disappointment I've had in the last 2 years is I wore this shirt out to Tractor Supply and nobody asked me about it.
Well, they were too busy looking for the horse dewormer, dude.
Well, that's another story.
All right, man, I appreciate you, brother.
This was fun, dude. I appreciate it. I stopped the recording.
Of course, man.
If you're gonna play this game of pick and choose, well, it's a game that was made for you to lose. It doesn't really matter how many times, it's the same old worn out stories, same old lines. They're all pointing dirty fingers in hypocrisy, bragging on their feats of mediocrity again. Never really making any kind of change, but they keep on getting re-elected, and I find that strange. And that's why I say fuck them, don't feed them, cause we don't even need them. I never celebrate the tyrants out of taking our freedoms. Yeah, I said fuck them, don't feed them, cause we don't even need them. I never celebrate the tyrants out of taking our freedoms. What's it gonna take for you to see that we're living in a rigged democracy? People stand in line for the things that they've been choosing, paying no attention to the rights they keep on losing. But they all gather in the rallies and they chant their names, on goddamn well that it's all gonna be the same. Just 4 more years of war and taxes, 4 more years of them grinding down their axes. And that's why I say fuck them, don't feed them, cause we don't even need them. I never celebrate the tyrants out of taking our freedoms. Yeah, fuck them, don't feed them, cause we don't even need them. I never celebrate the tyrants out of taking our freedoms. Cause we don't even need them, we'll never celebrate the tyrants that are taking our freedom. Fuck them, don't feed them, cause we don't even need them, we'll never celebrate the tyrants that are taking